Did you jam it?
Yeah, jammed it.
In this video, we're going to discuss Ari Lennox's viral clips when it comes to talking about sex and relationships, notably the conversation around not being able to orgasm from penetration, the conversation around prioritizing F-boys over nice guys in dating and now regretting that, and finally, I can't remember the third one, which is why you have to watch to find out what it will be. But first, a word from our sponsor, Squarespace. This video, and heck, this whole channel is powered by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform that makes it easy for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you are just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy for you to build a stunning website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place, all on your terms. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial. Play around, see if you like it. And if you love what you've built, go to squarespace.com/shanbooty because that's how you're going to get 10% off the purchase of a website or a domain. That's squarespace.com/shanbooty for 10% off. We'll start with Drea and Lex's Poor Minds, where Ari Lennox talked about not being able to orgasm from penetration.
Sometimes I wonder, like, will it ever happen for me?
Really?
I've had a baby. I feel like, you know how it feels like after you come, like the feeling of, what is that, pulsating?
Yes, yeah.
I felt that. I felt that while having sex. I don't know what that is, like I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But I've never felt like a full-blown orgasm the way I feel like getting head or like, pleasing myself.
I'm not gonna lie, I think that's because, I think when women, and I'm not speaking for all women, I'm just speaking for myself, because I think most of the time when women have an orgasm from penetration, there has to be some kind of emotional component.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's a mental thing for us.
Yeah.
I have never had an orgasm from penetration. We were just like doing it and being this.
Wait,
Never.
wow, this
Yeah.
is deep.
Yeah, I think
Definitely an emotional connection.
it's an emotional connection.
I've had to cover this topic so many times. Sex educators have covered this topic so many times. About roughly 1/3 of women can orgasm from penetration alone without outer clitoral assistance, and 2/3 will not be able or have not been able to orgasm from penetration alone without any form of outer clitoral assistance. I say that because the numbers actually skew between being anywhere from 8% to 1/3 of women because of the fact that a lot of the ways that people with vulvas get an orgasm from penetration alone is by being on top and grinding their clitoris back and forth against their partner. So it's the internal stimulation of the penis as well as the external stimulation of the grind that leads to the orgasm, which in many cases makes it just another outer clitoral orgasm with some internal support versus an unassisted internal orgasm. Let's say the ability to do a chin-up is like being able to orgasm from vaginal penetration alone. 25% of women can do a chin-up. Of those 25%, some can do a chin-up only on occasion, and some can do chin-ups fairly reliably. This is known as an unassisted vaginal orgasm, and this might have been what Glorilla was talking about when she said,
I saw somewhere it said it's only 11% chance or a female can have an orgasm off sex.
Moving on, 75% of people can't do a chin-up in the way that you just saw. Some are just not tall enough to even give it a try. This could be because of the position of their pubic bone, the distance from their clitoris to their vaginal opening, the size of their clitoral hood. Some people can do a chin-up with assistance, meaning if their outer clitoris is being stimulated by fingers, a toy, or grinding while their vagina is being penetrated, orgasm can occur. This is known as an assisted vaginal orgasm, and it's pretty important to call out because the star of this doubleheader show is likely still the clitoris. And oh, what a star it is. 95% of women orgasm from some form of clitoral stimulation, which means if this chin-up bar was a high-five practice machine, most people would be able to do it. Isn't it silly that we're even like counting up tabs on this one? Who cares? It's an orgasm, but you know how the society works. We have to debate this topic at length. So that to be said, we've talked about that before. We've talked about the rule of thumb as to why some people have an easier time achieving orgasm from penetration. Usually has to do with the placement of their clitoris. We've talked about Skene's glands being in there. And last but not least, we have discussed the comparison. It is just as normal for me to say, which I will say, I have never orgasmed from penetration alone, as it is for my husband to say, which he would say, I've never had a prostate orgasm before. Yeah, most people haven't. Some people have. Some people have nipplegasms. Some people have toegasms. I have sleepgasms. You may not have that. So trying to create, again, this hierarchy of pleasure when there's a logical explanation why a person with a penis orgasms from stimulation of their head, the glands of their penis. And that's the same explanation for why I orgasm when the glands of my clitoris, which is the anatomical twin to the penis, that's how I orgasm. Everything else has a little bit of nuance to it. So I figured that was the issue here. The issue wasn't that we needed another anatomy lesson, because we've done that before, but we needed a more nuanced discussion for the 2/3 of women who don't orgasm this way, but like Ari Lennox and myself included, are kind of curious if you could. So let's talk to that. So there's 4 main reasons why 2/3 of women and people with vulvas don't orgasm from vaginal penetration alone. Now, important to note when I talk about these 4 reasons, they don't apply to the 1/3 who can easily orgasm from vaginal penetration alone. This is an important distinction to note. I loved Poor Mind's answers. I think that those were really smart. It is important, especially for those in that group of 2/3, to have an emotional connection. But if you're part of that 1/3, you probably don't need all that, which is why we have to differentiate, because if you're part of the 1/3 trying to give advice to the 2/3, it may not translate the exact same way. So not everybody requires an emotional connection to somebody or a deeper understanding or a deeper commitment to orgasm from penetration during sex, just like I wouldn't require that to orgasm from a horseback, because my body is just set up to receive pleasure that way on my outer clitoris, and anything that rocks is gonna knock, and I shall then so. So again, we're talking about the 2/3 who do not receive consistent, reliable orgasm. So the response that Lex gave, in that it has to do with an emotional connection, can be a fair umbrella explanation for these 4 reasons, but it's important to get into the nuance so people actually have an actionable next step, which again, this can be an umbrella step, because the nervous system basically has 2 different modes. You have fight or flight and calm and connect. Now, if you're not anatomically wired to easily access sensation from vaginal penetration, you're going to require a lot of mental capacity to get there, a lot of focusing, a lot of thinking, a lot of downshifting. And if you are in fight or flight because the connection is insecure, you're not sure about your sexual health status or that person's afterwards, or you don't have a good communication flow with that person, so you're worried that the sex will be uncomfortable, and you also don't feel comfortable advocating if that comes up. These are all reasons why you probably won't be in a state of calm and connect, and you'll be in fight or flight. But once you have an emotional connection with somebody, you can downshift into calm and connect, and at least then you have a good base. But we have to continue to investigate from there. One, we already talked about this. It's not anatomically actually logical to orgasm from penetration alone. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Just the same way as that nipplegasms happen, although it's not necessarily evolutionarily logical or anatomically logical or all that common, but there are definite people who have nipplegasms. Similarly, when it comes to vaginal orgasms. So someone being able to orgasm from vaginal penetration alone, just because, without putting in any work, it just happens for them, those people should be looked at as like, wow, that's unique, versus, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be for everybody. The second reason has to do with guarding for pain, which leads to tension. The third has to do with a mind-body connection. And the last one has to do with arousal state, also state of soberness. All right, let's start with tension, a very basic one. I want you to brace your stomach right now as if somebody's about to punch you. Like, imagine I'm like, maybe somebody more scary than me is like doing this right now and they're about to punch you in the stomach, and their friends are holding your arms back right now, and you're like, and then I'm winding up and your stomach is braced. You're getting ready for that hit. Now, take your hand and graze it across your skin. Notice how you feel, okay? Now, exhale. 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 Slow down. I want you to mentally make it feel like there is a weight on your bottom. Like let all the gravity, all the blood, let everything drop into that region right now. Take your hand and rub it across your stomach. How does that feel? When you are anticipating pain, your body receives pleasure in a completely different way, in a completely dulled way. It's bracing itself for impact right now. It doesn't have time to notice the breeze or the beautiful shades of the world or that small sensation of one hair knocking against another as someone's fingers trail by. You don't have the capacity for that. And for a lot of women, this area is painful, whether that be from cramps, whether that be from attempting sexual experiences where you were not fully aroused and that feeling uncomfortable, whether it be from a sexual trauma. It could be tampon trauma, a number of things. Many of us, regardless of the fact if we have some type of pelvic floor issue, which many women also do, or we have dysfunction like pelvic inflammatory disease, or maybe some endometriosis or some fibroids at play, null and void of all of that, majority of women do have some experience or association of their vagina and pain. And if that is your experience a lot, then you start to associate any time that people are engaging with that area or that area is even given attention as there being pain associated with that. So subconsciously, even if you don't think you are, you might be bracing for discomfort, for that impact. And that is going to dramatically impact the way that your nerve endings are able to fire and receive the nuance of experiences and feelings rather than just anticipating the worst possible outcome. There can be incredible pelvic floor doctors who can help you through issues like this to actually teach you how to relax those muscles, which many people may have never experienced before.
So here is a tip. Pain map. Get aroused. Give yourself up to 20 minutes to do so. Then, with a partner, a toy, or your own fingers, slowly explore your insides and all of its wonderful curves, caves, and crevices. Note where you experience some discomfort. For me, it's on my right side, close to my cervix. Next, communicate your findings clearly to your partner and tell them how important it is to be mindful to avoid your pain points. Trust is simply time plus consistency. So, over time of your partner avoiding your pain areas, you will no longer reflexively tense up around penetration, which allows you to relax and focus on pleasure instead. Brainstorm foreplay ideas. If 20 minutes seems too long, it's because your list of things you could be doing is not long enough. Try kissing games, erotic stories, stripping, teasing, talking, breathwork, massage, praising, bondage, and slow stimulation of other erogenous zones. These are all some ideas. If you want more, I highly suggest signing up for a service like Aria.
Now, we're going to talk, when we talk about the end, about altered states of consciousness and why this is such an important conversation to have, because there are individuals who are anticipating pain and are very sensitive to pain, but they're using additional aids to get them into a looser state or a state where it's a natural painkiller to some capacity as to why they're able to get to orgasm. So anyways, like I said, all these things are important nuances when we have this conversation. Second thing, or the third thing now that we're going to talk about, mind-body connection. Just like you, I would have been tuning out right now. Oh, this is going woo-woo. Oh, we're about to talk about meditation. Oh my gosh, like I have to have a crystal handy. Maybe, but mostly honestly, no. You have over 100 billion nerve endings. That's 100 billion opportunities to experience, You want to be experiencing those all the time? All 100 billion active, receptive, hot, ready, and live at one time? Hell no. So you have certain ones that are turned on and some that are turned off, just like muscles. You could be the person who goes to the gym every single day. You go to Pilates once and you can't walk for a week. Why? Because those are micro muscles that you've just never used before. For a lot of people, they actually haven't turned on that mind nerve ending circuit to be mindful of what's happening inside of their vagina. Also, a lot of sex tends to be fast. You require, in this case, slow, explorative, and you have to really think about this. Popping in to show some love to the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Now, if you guys have seen my latest website, you know that there are a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts, which means a lot of money. Save yourself all of that. Get everything you need in one spot with Squarespace. You deserve to have a growing, thriving business that's not overly complicated. So how do you do that? With Fluid Engine. The next generation website editor from Squarespace has never been easier for anyone to unlock unbreakable creativity. Choose your website starting point and customize every design detail with reimagined drag and drop technology, Squarespace Blueprint AI, and SEO tools. Start a completely personalized website with new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. Then easily launch your site and get discovered fast with integrated, optimized SEO tools so you show up more often to more people and grow the way that you want. Next, let's talk about flexible payments. Make checkout seamless for your customers with simple but powerful payment tools. And in eligible countries, offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. You already know this part, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Check out squarespace.com to get yourself a free trial to play around. And once you fall in love with what you've built and the way and ease that you can build it, go to squarespace.com/shanbooty for 10% off the purchase of a website or a domain. That's squarespace.com/shanbooty. Let me tell y'all something. Born without a butt. Born without a butt. And my nickname is Booty. Do you know how many people meet me in real life and they're like, I know, guys. My last name is Boudram. I was given the nickname Booty in college, a play off of that. I brought it onto YouTube. It just mismanaged expectations all around. Wanted to change that, okay? Because I'm in my 40s. You start doing weights anyways at this stage. Should have done them before. So let me start working on a butt. I realize I don't ever use my butt. I just don't. When I bend my legs, when I squat, when I do life, my butt is just turned off. It has been turned off for 30 plus years. I've had to literally slowly turn that bad boy on. And it's taken me such a long time to learn how to do that. I have to go so slow. I have to tense it. I have to think about it. I gotta turn the music off sometimes. And that's what may have to happen in order for you to start to feel the sensations inside of your vagina. Now, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, maybe this is the way that one could achieve a shoulder orgasm. Yes, of course, your genital network and the way that it's plugged in your sensomotor part of your brain. You're more likely to receive orgasm from stimulation of those nerve endings than that of your shoulder. But that to be said, that if you do develop that practice of focusing on turning on awareness, the connection, the ability to receive messages from that area, then pleasure becomes infinite for you. But heck, why not start at the vagina? Okay, it's very convenient. It would make you similar to porn stars. It would be makes you really cool at brunch when you tell sex stories. So heck, I totally get the gist. Why would I worry about having an orgasm right here when I can focus on the money shot? So if you want to do that, think about that in your approach to it. And I say approach because just like building a butt, it takes a while to turn it on, to feel the sensations, and then to understand how to let it build. And then to give the patience for it to build. There's so much learning to do, like walking. Took you a year to walk. Every single day you were moving towards that goal. And there was a time that you were working on it. That's all you did. You didn't even have a job. All you did all day long was try to figure out how to walk. It took you a while, but you did it. Same might have to go for learning how to orgasm from penetration alone.
So here's a tip. There's a lot of digital pelvic floor trainers that come with apps. With these, you can isolate muscles in your pelvic floor, plus the app can help you both visualize and assess if you're doing it correctly. Or you can support me by purchasing from my Kama Sutra inspired line. Each piece of jewelry is designed to help you focus on your pleasure in a particular position. The jewelry helps you set the right rhythm, and then you can chase your pleasure. These earrings encourage you to really lean forward when you're on top to get the outer clitoral stimulation you need during penetration. If the earrings are swinging, baby, you're moving in the right direction. This waist chain with bells on it is designed to remind you not to bounce up and down, but instead to keep the movement of the hips back and forth, which again puts the pressure on the anterior wall of the clitoral legs Plus, it puts pressure on the clitoris as you grind against your partner's pelvis. If you hear the sound of bells, you know you're moving either too fast or too vertically. The spine chain is meant to be worn during your ovulation phase when the cervix is at its highest point, making doggy style more comfortable, more pleasurable. Align the chain to your spine, then tuck it in your cheeks. Move slow and intentionally with your partner, focusing on thrusting down versus in. The choker and rings are here to remind you of your pleasure potential. You are fire, infinite wonder, earth, water, and air. Connect with your true power to access your pleasure potential.
I'm on this journey. I'm just starting to get the awareness, which leads us into our fourth and final point. Arousal state and conscious state are extremely important. Arousal state, okay? If you're not genuinely aroused, if your vaginal canal hasn't elongated, if it's not fluffier, if it's not more elastic, if there's not more blood flow to the area, if your Bartholin and your skein, if those are not fired up, then you're going to not experience the depth of pleasure that's possible when your body is fully prepared to receive stimulation in that way. That's one thing, okay? What also tends to happen in relationships is that we misinterpret desire and arousal, right? Like we can understand that we can want sex up here, but that doesn't mean that our body is necessarily responding or responding as fast as our brain did. And we know this is the case, right? Because Viagra is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So we get that you can really, really want to have sex, and for some reason, the body is just not responding. So that kind of can happen as well too. You're really, really turned on mentally, your body is not, you're in a rush because you really want it. And then again, you bypass your pleasure potential because your body never gets an opportunity to set up for the party. What also can happen is arousal confusion, which essentially usually happens with anger. So if you are in a toxic or unhealthy relationship, you might have shortened breath a lot. You might be in fight or flight, dilated pupils, you've got the blood pumping through you. And all these things are actually the same physiological response that happens when we become horny. So your body in this already aware, heightened metacognitive state, if it gets sexual stimuli or the person switches, your body might be like, oh, we're horny anyways. And it feels very natural to fall into it. But your body actually is not horny. The vaginal canal and other parts of your body haven't truly prepared for sex. It feels similar, but it's actually not the same thing. So again, you might even feel like you're aroused and your body is tingling, but it might just be anger or another, state of arousal confusion. Second part to this, which truly makes this a list of 5, which I should have done that. 5's a better number. I guess I was just worried that you guys would be too in a rush to finish this video. So you'd want to wrap it up fast. Because I said it's conscious state and arousal state, but conscious state really deserves its own thing. I have a community called the Lovers Community, which is a paid community where people get direct access to me to chat with me, to learn from me, to take classes. I have all of my content there, so it's like a one-stop shop for the Lovers universe. And of course, it's an opportunity to join the podcast on occasions. So that's Lovers. And in Lovers, the feed is really like the main draw because people just drop confessions, tips, secrets, and stories. Such good stories. So I was reading a story that someone submitted about this amazing sexual experience they had where she saw colors. They were so deeply connected. They were orgasming at the same time multiple times. She said, I could literally see the color of his soul. It was like an out-of-body experience, and we were so wet, and it didn't even matter where the fluids came from because we were genuinely one at that moment. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. How do I? And I was like, I'm so sorry to ask this way. This is a beautiful story, but this is a community. We're all going to be safe space here. But I'm going to be a Cosmo girly and say, what are the 3 steps that will allow me to experience something like this? And she was like, well, step 1, we were extremely high. Then there was step 2, of course, it was the emotional connection. And then there was step 3, which they had done some breathwork courses recently. So that was the thing that they added into it. But I think it's so important to say step 1. So many of you guys are going out there telling these lavish sex stories or talking about the one time that you orgasm from a particular way, and you are just conveniently leaving out because you were high out of your mind. You were in a completely altered state that is so different than majority of us's sober state. no judgment. That's not a bad thing. It's an amazing thing. This is the reason why cannabis was first medicinal. This is an incredible painkiller. Phenomenal. Alcohol, phenomenal painkiller. And many other drugs. They turn off the part of the brain that is very sensitive to pain or responsive to pain, which allows more space for the other nerve endings to turn on or for you to feel more nuance in your everyday motions and emotions. So it's so important to note, again, not just what you were doing, but what you did just before that would allow your body to experience a response or a level of pleasure that it doesn't usually experience. So in the spirit of editing lists, I told you I had a list of 4 things that 2/3 of people who don't orgasm for penetration alone should probably consider when they're thinking about why they don't orgasm that way, but it really should have been 5 things. Now, I told you guys I was going to respond to 3 things, but let's just keep it at 2. 1, this video is already long enough. And secondly, I can't totally remember the 3rd one. I know I do, but it's so close to the second that I'm like, I think there was another one. Anyways, let's talk about it. Ari Lennox said that she was attracted to bad boys in her younger years, and now that she's older and looking to settle down, she thinks about that because she's like, there was a lot of nice guys that I overlooked who are now partnered, and I'm looking for a deep, meaningful partnership now, and I don't have that.
What do you think it is that attracts you to like toxic energy?
I think they just seem really exciting at first. The chemistry is incredible. And they don't even always be fine. It's not even that like they're sexy or something. I mean, well, they're sexy, but they don't be the finest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's just an energy. Sometimes it's convenience, what we talk about. A lot of the sweeter energies that I felt like weren't for me. I could see myself falling asleep a little bit on the phone. So I don't know if that's like, if boring is good or not. Like, I'm trying to figure out what that means. Like,
It's the thrill.
yeah.
The men are in an uproar. Everybody's got their, I told you so. Yeah. It's extremely normal for young girls to prioritize all the traits that a bad boy has. This is an evolutionary truth, so it's nothing new. It's nothing Ari Lennox. It's nothing modern woman. It's normal. During your early reproductive age, you're extremely vulnerable, extremely sought after, and as a result, you are looking for the loudest, most respected, the person with lots of bravado to associate yourself with in order to be safe. Which might seem illogical. Why would you align yourself with the most dangerous person to feel safer? Well, because everybody else thinks they're the most dangerous person too. So that's your best bet. So all of us, when we're younger, are attracted to the bad boy. Now, here's another fun fact, actually, because I was recently researching this based on our hunter-gatherer days, because as we know in other animal primates, not every male mates. There's usually one male who mates within a tribe or community or subgroup, whatever, insert animal grouping name here. So I was like, I wonder if the same thing happens in humans. Turns out that at certain points in history, especially when things are particularly difficult with the environment, only around 1 in 17 human men actually mated within the group. How does that make any sense, right? Why would that be? Well, because that one person, we all agreed, had the best shot of survival. And survival was top of mind at all times. So we're going to collectively decide that Skip is the best shot that we've got at surviving. He's strong, he's smart, he's healthy, he's got big shoulders, he can fight back against a possum or whatever humans could actually defeat. So we're like, okay, we need more Skips around here. So cool, everybody mate with Skip. Let's all get some more Skips for the next generation. But what do the other men in the group do? What do the other 16 of them do? They support this effort. And then they choose a partner to fall in love with to help raise Skip's kids with them. Again, from an evolutionary perspective, it's logical. We will prioritize the bad boy, the thickest, the strongest, the baddest, the roughest, the most sought after, the most desired. And then you switch to being like, okay, I've done that. I'm actually now a little older where I can fend for myself, so I don't require male protection as much. I'm also not as vulnerable to male attacks, so I no longer have to prioritize, safety in that capacity against safety from other men. And I have more wisdom, more awareness. I know myself more. And I actually need someone to help me raise Skip's kid. Skip skipped away to the next group, actually. He was poached. That's how valuable Skip's sperm was. So now I need somebody else to help me raise Skip's children. So I'm going to prioritize a softer guy, a nicer guy, a gentler guy, more emotionally in tune, somebody who would be a better father, a better partner. I want to do life with this person. I want to laugh with this person. I'm relaxed around this individual. Makes sense, right? And that guy, yeah, he just cares about fitness and the tribe's, it's called parallel fitness, where we can satisfy our desire to spring into the next generation by supporting other people's children's to spring to the next generation, and so on and so forth. And again, from an evolutionary standpoint, it's logical. You couldn't even support, infants require so much support, protection, rearing, resources, and they don't give back for a very long time. You actually can't afford for everybody in the community to have kids. You just can't. There's not enough resources possible. The finitudes of life make it so that some of us can be mating and other of us have to be supporting others' mating efforts. So that's why women, we're gonna like bad boys when they're younger, and they're gonna like nice guys when they're older. So what we can do is we can provide this information so that your software has an opportunity to override the hardware. That's one of the big issues with humanity right now anyways, right? Is that we have developed at such an insane rate. Our bodies and biologies cannot keep up. So that to be said, the hardware that we have is incompatible with a lot of the software. We can intellectually know something, but our body is programmed a very different way. But it's important, though, to provide good software because it allows you to be mind, muscle aware of the hardware and what it's doing, and to sometimes override its manual functions. More work, more effort. It'd be much better if our hardware was just updated like that. Not going to happen. If you ever watched the Netflix show that talks about how the history of Earth, which I think is so fascinating. There's some debates on whether or not it's accurate or not, but one of my favorite lines in that was talking about this dinosaur that grew wings. And then it was like, and 1 million years it did. What? Can you imagine that? Like, knowing that you have to change something about yourself and then being like, yeah, like I got to do this. And it was like, in 80 years, I did it. Like, that's actual adaptation is very, very slow. The software, the mental adaptation, lightning fast. It's very confusing for all of us. We're in this together, okay? So that to be said, when you know, oh, I'm actually, from an evolutionary perspective, hardwired to be attracted to that guy, but I'm attracted to that guy for reasons that no longer apply to my environment, my community's needs, my own needs for surviving and thriving, and for my long-term goals. So I'm going to override that. Okay, yeah, I totally get why I'm attracted to Skip, and I might have to jerk off to him later, but I'm going to be a jerk to him and nice to the guy who's super sweet and really cool and is not lighting me up that way, but I can create it. I can learn it. I can find new things to be fond of, and I can put my reps in so that I respond the same way to that guy's kindness as I do to that one's aloofness. You can do that. It's effort. Don't get me wrong, it's effort, but it's possible, which is why these conversations are necessary so that we build in that awareness, not because women are evil or dumb or stupid or this, or Ari Lennox is typical this, that, modern woman, blah, 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 because we're people all in this together. And we're better together. Okay, that brings us to the end of our video because I gotta pick up my kids because we booked a play date. I have to go prepare for that. And you gotta figure out what is the third video that I should have responded to. What's the third viral moment? And anything else that you wanna share. Babe, just press stop.